One of the more unassuming buildings, garages here at the Lake of the Ozarks houses some of the most badass boats that live here at the lake. And as Shootout Week approaches, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Craig Amptmeyer, who works with the MCON Monster Energy team and is one of the key men behind the scenes that makes that boat go 170 plus miles an hour. We're going to talk about the guys that run it, Tyler and Myrick. We're going to talk about everything today, from comparing the offshore races to the shootout race. We're going to get inside the boat, and we're even going to take a backstage pass into their trailer, where he's going to show you some of the things that you probably weren't expecting to see inside one of these trailers for one of these teams. This right here is where the Monster Energy MCON boats are housed. This is where they work on. This is where they get them ready. This is ground zero for MCON Monster Energy. And we're taking you inside today to get you amped up for Shootout 38 2026. Let's go. Craig Amptmeyer.
Yeah.
You know, everybody talks about Myrick and Tyler, but the real heroes work here.
Yeah, me, Dave, and Jake, and they always get all the good shit. You know?
That's why I'm here, man. That's why I'm here, because without guys like you and all the other crew behind the scenes, these guys aren't running this thing.
Tyler realizes it, but Myrick don't.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
Yeah.
So, Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where you're from? What brought you here? Give us kind of the story on how you ended up here.
About 16 years ago, my wife, Chelsea, moved to Chicago with me from Michigan, and our house got broken into twice in 3 months, and we were at a bar one night, and I was a little buzzed up, and we got home, and I'm like, let's move to Missouri. Let's move to Lake of the Ozarks. And she's like, all right. So the next week, we had a little transport business there, sold off a lot of stuff, came here, used my buddy's condo for about a month, found somewhere to live, brought some money down. Then I met Myrick. He hired me at Naughty Marine, worked on a lot of boats there. That's how I met Tyler and Lindsay, and they had the recovery boat back in the day that him and his cousin used to fly around the lake everywhere. Mm-hmm. We worked at Naughty, and then Performance came and bought Naughty Marine, which Dave sold to them. That brought me and Myrick and his brother there, and we started working there, and then they started a race team, Jimmy John's Performance Boat Center, and me, Myrick, Johnny throttled it, and Dave worked for Johnny at TNT. Me and Dave worked on the boat, Myrick and Johnny ran, and we won world and national championships, 4 national and 3 worlds. And I ended up quitting Performance, went off on my own and started transporting boats. And I worked part-time for Tyler with MCON Racing. 4 years ago, he asked me to work full-time and run the shop here, and that's what I'm doing now. And we kicked some ass the last couple of years, and we're still doing it.
Yes,
you know?
Yes you are. How many MCON boats?
This is our brand new Class 1. It's a 398 skater. Tyler, Myrick, and Pete pretty much designed this boat. So far, first race out, we had it 5 days. We had it done before lake race, and we tested it one day, and we ended up winning the race with that. Tyler bought a Factory 500 boat, which is an MTI 39. They tested that for a day, and they went out and won it. So we had a couple trim issues with that boat, but we ended up winning it. We had like a 22-second lead, and then the trim went up by itself. There were some penalties, and we ended up winning it. So that's what brought me here, and we didn't know a soul when we moved here.
Other than your buddy's condo, I guess.
Yeah. And that's who I came on vacation with, so
really?
It was cool. I mean, we met a lot of good people, and we wouldn't change it. We're glad we moved here, and Tyler and Lindsay are awesome people. You know, my wife's good friends with Lindsay. They're like best friends, and me and Tyler are pretty tight, you know.
Yeah. So before, Michigan, Chicago, Lake of the Ozarks, was your only knowledge of the lake because of your friend?
Yeah, vacation.
Because this is well before Ozark. This is well before COVID,
Yeah, we just came down here for a couple weeks every summer, and we boated and everything, and, just did what everybody does on vacation here.
Now we're on the road to the shootout. We're leading up to the shootout. For those that aren't involved in the racing and the offshore racing community, it's unlike pretty much anything else.
Yeah, we like doing it. We do it every year, and Tyler puts on like a party for all of us and everything at his house. We do the poker run, and for the sponsors and all our fans, we love being here, and street party, all that stuff. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. We'll run both boats this year, and when we had 2 boats a couple years ago, we ran both of them. So, and with it being here by Dog Days, that's nice because his house is pretty much right across the way, and he has 2 lifts for the boat. So we'll just run them back there every night instead of
Nice.
pulling them out on the trailer every night by Captain Ron's and bringing them all the way back here,
So when you guys heard about the change last year, that was a welcome change.
Yeah, Captain Ron's was good, but I mean, just logistics, getting there and everything, and the ramps down there, it's so much easier here. We'll put them in at Performance Boat Center and then idle them or run them to his dock across the way, and then just run them to dog days every morning. So logistically, it's awesome. I like the pits and stuff at dog days. Everything's close. I thought it was good last year. A lot of people, ups and downs, but there's no idle. All the fans just come right in there.
It's interesting to get another perspective, because of course the perspective that everybody hears and sees online is pretty much of the fans, which, don't get me wrong, the fans are paramount. I was one of them. But logistically, like you said, it does matter to the racers, because if the racers don't show up, we don't have a race.
Well, and the fans too, but I mean, the fans had to idle for 11 miles or something?
It was very inconvenient for those of them coming from the lower mountain lines. Let's talk about that for a second. There's the shootout, which is, like, they call it the Super Bowl of racing, right? And it's an unsanctioned drag race for boats versus the offshore circuit, which is literally boats racing in circles, mostly out on the ocean, but you run like Michigan, you run the Ozarks. Can you kind of describe to a racing fan who's not overly familiar with both, how would you describe the difference between the two?
The offshore side of it, we have qualifying, testing, and then we have 2 races. This year we do 2 races, one each day, and it's about 62 miles each day. It's a lot of wear and tear on these engines. And the shootout's a lot easier. There's no rules. We don't have to be a minimum certain weight. We can kind of do whatever we want to the boat. And there's no cheating in there. It's a factory sealed 1100 each side. We use a Mercury computer and then take as much weight out of the boat as we can. We run it light on fuel just so the boat's lighter, so we get going faster. And that's about all we could do in the shootout, but we do it for our fans, the sponsorship, and it's just a good week,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So when it comes to the shootout itself, what I just heard you say was, as a part of the crew, even Myrick and Tyler, the shootout's probably a lot more enjoyable, because instead of going 62 miles a day, they're running 3/4 at a time.
They're like, oh, let's go again, or just hang out and talk to fans. And it's laid back for us too, because we have 13, 14-hour days at the races after they race and craning, and it's just a lot out there compared to here. It's a cool deal. It's a lot of work setting everything up, but after that, it's a lot easier than going to a race.
Sure. I imagine there's a little bit more downtime to partake in some adult beverages during a shootout week versus a race week.
Oh yeah, and talk to fans and stuff like that. The team's usually together and we get to actually hang out and not bust our ass. And
less serious atmosphere. Now, you mentioned wanting to go, that the team will say, like, go on extra runs. Now, from a fan's perspective, like, every year, there's always that anticipation of about 10 boats, unless maybe you're very much into the pontoons or jet skis or whatever. And then there's always that question of, how many times are they going to run? Are they going to come out again?
Right.
I don't know that fans know this from behind the scenes, because we probably are thinking, well, they're going out there trying to win the trophy, and they don't necessarily want to make a bunch of runs and put a bunch of wear and tear on the boat. But what I just heard you say was, these guys are kind of like, let's do another one. Is that really the mentality of a lot of the racers that do this?
Well, with Tyler and Myrick, yes, because like I said, we have a Spec class engine to where it's not like American Ethanol or Dirty Duck or the Durana Hybrid or whatever. Don sets up that boat. It makes 2 or 3 passes a year and they're done. Everything's to the max in that boat. Same with Dirty Duck. They're high horsepower engines that, they can't do what we do with, like, endurance style.
Okay, that's a great way to put it. So the biggest difference between an American Ethanol, a Dirty Duck, and MCON is you're made for marathons.
Right.
They're made for sprinting.
Quarter mile at a time, pretty much, like a drag car.
Correct, Put it in track and field terms, Very, very different athlete. The one who's made for the marathon versus the one who's made to run just down a straightaway.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, that's awesome. For someone who has no idea, someone looking at this boat and they really don't know what they're looking at other than that it floats, right? What makes something like this guy so special?
I like how Tyler, Myrick, and Pete designed the boat. They all put their minds together, and it went off our 388, our Super Cat, that we dominated with that for a long time.
So they added, what, 1.5 feet?
Yeah. And then they did some other stuff to it. It's just been an awesome boat, It's like them back in the Super Cat, and that's what I loved, is the Super Cat, but it's different now.
So when you say other stuff, is that stuff that you can't talk about?
Well, different stuff they did to the
proprietary secrets to make it go faster. Okay, and I won't ask any more questions. But when you say that, are we talking like design?
Yeah, design-wise, through the tunnel.
So just little itty bitty nuances make a big difference.
Oh yeah, for sure. So there's like a water pickup in the back. It picks up the water for the engine, If you drop that 1/8 of an inch, it'll slow the boat down 2-3 mile an hour.
Really?
You know, it's crazy.
Wow. What does it actually take to prepare a boat like this to run at the shootout versus running in the offshore races? I assume not as much work?
No, we're still doing fluid changes. We change oil, water separators, fuel filters every race, you know. So we'll do that, check valve lash, check over nut and bolts, everything, motor mounts, all the fittings. We'll check over all that just the same. The wear and tear on an offshore race compared to a flat shootout, little blip, 3/4 of a mile. If he does, we could probably get away with, knock on wood, but 10 laps, you know.
Yeah.
We'd open the hatches, make sure there's no leaks, just kind of look over everything, oil levels, all that stuff, and send them on their way again, you know.
Yeah. What's one thing that you're checking right before you make a pass that absolutely has to be right? What would you say is like the most critical thing you're checking?
Everything in the engine compartment. But sea strainer lids, make sure them are tight, because if they blow off, there'd be nothing but water in the bilge. Make sure there's no fuel leaks. Make sure the oil level's good. Make sure there are airs on for them in case something happens. Seats tight, seat belts fastened, you know, good for them, and it's good to go. Like,
Yeah, I would almost compare this to like watching IndyCar race, or F1 is really popular right now, NASCAR, and you see all of the people that come up, run out, and are working on different components of the car. Is it kind of similar? Is that a comparable way to describe it?
There's usually 2 guys in the engine compartments and then a guy in the back. My wife does data in the boat. We have Motec, which she could watch all the data while they're racing, and she could like get on the radio and be like, hey, your temperature's getting too high, it's gonna go in the Guardian, stuff like that, or watch oil pressure. And we could kind of watch and make sure everything's going good, which she has a laptop and looks at everything. You can't adjust anything, but everything's live on there.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. At these speeds, which, you know, we're talking 170-ish for a boat like that. Obviously, the top boats are trying to run 200, well north of 200.
Right.
We know last year was 242. A small problem can become a really big problem. What's an example of something like that that maybe the casual race fan doesn't fully understand?
Over trimming the boat, make it flip, make the front end come up, and you know, blow the boat over.
Which we've seen.
Yeah, drive line, if something breaks, a drive brake or a trans breaks or something, they could put the boat one each way, whatever side it's on.
And that stuff happens fairly frequently in offshore.
Yeah, and there's nothing you could like really pre-check on that. You know, you could check fluids and make sure your drive shaft's tight and wiggle the U-joints, but that's about all, you know. Just like we had that mishap in Michigan City, the drive shaft broke. It was a brand new drive shaft, and we don't know yet what caused it.
Really?
We're working on it.
So there's nothing to pinpoint to say we could have done this better that could have avoided it.
Yeah, it wasn't anybody on our side, you know, like any of us. And
you're not blaming Myrick errors?
No. Yeah. I usually blame it on a lot of shit, but not this.
Not bad. Okay, very fair. Yeah, we've talked a little bit about this, but the setup here at the Lake of the Ozarks is very different. The shootout is very different. It's funny because as you and I were talking off camera, you were talking about how flat the Lake of the Ozarks is, which says no one ever when they're describing the Lake of the Ozarks. But in the racing world,
on a closed course,
very flat compared to running even like Michigan, running the ocean. How can you describe that to somebody who doesn't fully understand that?
Every race venue we go to with the boat, we look at wind finder and all that, and that tells you what the seas are. But like Michigan could change within hours. Every race, like the shootout or the lake race, is practically the same every year because it's a closed course. The lake doesn't build unless there's traffic in there, which there ain't.
So the wind at the lake doesn't cause swells, like they do on a big body of water.
Right. You gotta change the setup of the boat with 3-footers, 2-footers. Usually flat for us is 1 to 3 footers. When we're in the ocean racing, we think that's flat. But we've raced Cocoa Beach, it was 11, 12 footers, and they still had us racing it.
That's crazy.
That was crazy.
That's crazy.
A lot of boats broke, flipped.
You're catching air all throughout the race.
Yeah.
Versus here, which is, I guess, what do you call them here? You say 1.5 is nothing?
Here is probably half.
It's if that,
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a close course.
Right.
Awesome. Now, when a boat comes back after a pass, specifically for the shootout, what's the first thing you're looking at?
So the first thing we'll do is flip the hatches open, make sure there's no leaks in there, there's no water in there. We usually like to go out with the boat bilges dry, nothing in there, and clean, so you can make sure there's no splatter of oil or anything. Shut the air off for them guys, the oxygen. Every pass, flip the hatches open again, just eye everything. We do a nut and bolt, but we also mark all the fittings and stuff with paint lines to make sure that you can kind of look and see that they're not loosened.
Yeah.
So just mainly that, just kind of a once over and send them on their way.
And where are you guys stationed for the shootout race? Are you guys on shore? Are you on a boat? Where you
So we put everything at dog days, bring our tool bag down there, go over everything there, and then once Tyler and Myra get in the boat, we'll jump in Tyler's 50 and then follow them to the starting line. They'll tie up next to us. We'll just wait there for them to go in the milling. We use Bluetooth so we can get them on the phone and connect everybody on the team there, and then we kind of let them talk at the shootout because there's nothing.
So the team off that's not Tyler or Myrick are not talking to Myrick.
No, not really. Unless we're just making fun of them or telling them they're slow or something like that. But yeah, it's different than offshore. You know, offshore we're spotting, letting them know like how many boats are behind, how far back they are, how many seconds, and inside, outside, all that stuff.
I noticed you said letting them know boats behind them.
Yeah.
It's very rarely that you're trying to catch somebody. Is that?
Yeah, but I don't really say much in front unless they're gaining on them if there's somebody in front of us because they could kind of see, you know?
Okay, got it.
But if they were 8 seconds, if somebody was 8 seconds ahead of us and now we're 5, I'll tell them, hey, you're 3 seconds faster, like you're catching them. And that helps, you know, with them.
But for the shootout, there really is there's no need because it happens like that anyway.
And I'll let them two communicate there because they want to do the start correctly. And I think it's 40 miles an hour.
I think so, yeah.
We'll let them do all that. They just run and that's it. You know? Then we'll meet them back at the dock with the 50 and open the hatches, make sure everything's good, and talk to fans and friends and hang out until they say, hey, let's go again.
That's cool. In other words, if you've never been to the shootout before and you just go to the tie-up and you've never actually gone into the docks like at Ron's or now at Dog Days, fans have a front row seat. Like there's no holding back. You guys they can walk out on the docks, you can talk to these drivers. It's not just media.
Right.
It's anybody.
Everybody,
which is really cool. Yeah. I think one of the most fascinating things you said is you guys are using the comms just to give them shit.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's kind of fun.
It's fun.
But that says a lot about the shootout, you know?
Yeah. Like me and Jake ran 2 years ago in the Supercat, you know, and that Myrick and Tyler ran in the Class 1. And I think Dave ran the Class 1, but Jake's talking to radio control and everybody makes fun, like everybody on the team messes with him because he's like, Myrick will be like, Jake, are you close? Call radio control. He's just messing with Jake saying it. And Jake would call radio control like 10 or 15 times, like, where are we at? This is MCON, where are we at in line? And then Myrick will be like, hey, 5 minutes later, and he'll have Jake call him again. And it's like, it was fun.
So it's just you guys having fun. Yeah. It's grown men acting like 15-year-old boys. Basically, some things just never change.
And you don't get to do that at races, you know? I mean, it's all serious, stressed out, you know, making sure everything's good to where this is kind of chill, fun, make sure everything's good and have a good time.
I think it's fun for a fan though. Like, again, I'm putting myself in a fan's shoes because I am one. I love hearing that because you don't know how serious it is, but now to hear that you guys are having just as much fun as they are, maybe just a few less beers in their bellies, that's really cool.
It's good. The shootout's awesome because, like I said, finally you have time to hang out with fans and answer questions to where, like at offshore races, you're busting your ass. Like there's an issue, you got to swap an engine out or something like that. It's like you don't really have time to just come down and hang out and answer questions, and to where now here you could do whatever you want, you know. And that's what's cool because there's a lot of race teams that come here for the shootout, you know. So
is there anything for shootout that goes through your head before the race that stresses you out?
For the shootout?
Yeah, for the shootout.
No.
It's pretty laid back.
I mean, we do our work in the villages before, and I think it's good for the whole 2 days, you know, other than just kind of looking stuff over, making sure the boat's cleaning the deck and all that, making sure the air's on for them guys in case something did happen, you know. Other than that, no, I mean, it's not like offshore, man. Offshore, like Tyler won't eat before the race, and he's like almost puking in there. We're on the phone with him, and I could hear him like, you know. But once,
that's funny, not funny. Actually, you should be laughing.
But, dude, he's bad. And I get it. As soon as they get in the milling and start going, he's fine. He's ready to go, you know.
It's like, it's competition.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
I used to race circle track, and I drag race now, but it's like not as bad in drag racing. Like some guys just get in the car and go, but I like just chilling for a little bit. Stock cars, I would be like that too. Waiting to go out on the track, like stomach gurgles.
Nerves, just butterflies, of course. Okay, last question before I want to have you kind of give the audience a tour of this place. We're going to show you a little bit around the boat. We're going to show you their trailer and some of the things you probably didn't expect were in there that I thought were kind of cool. But before I do that, what's your prediction for Shootout 38 2026?
I think it'll be big, and I hope we win both classes. I think we're going to have some competition in the Factory 500 class and hopefully some competition in this 1100 class. We're not in the same as like Dirty Duck and everything, so I think it'll be fun. And
what's your predicted speed
on this? 171.
What would be something that like floored you, like, holy shit, we just did
180?
Okay.
But
It's good to know.
Gear ratio, you know, it's a spec class boat. So
Yeah. It can only go so fast.
Yeah. I think it would go 180 if you stretched it out past 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get these boats going. The tunnel's wider and everything because it's all spec. You know?
And with the 40-mile-an-hour start. So Myrick and Tyler, that was the challenge that Craig just threw down. 180.
Yep. 180. 180.
All right, brother. Let's go take a look at the boat. All right, Craig. Where do you want to start on this monstrosity?
Sorry about the mess.
Hey, you're getting ready for shootout.
Yeah, we're in the middle of doing some stuff here, but yeah, this is the engine compartments. Got the tailpipes and stuff hanging because we had a broken dry shaft here and trying to fix some stuff. Need to swap the transmission, and you can see in there it hit a little bit down there in the transom.
Kind of that white.
Yeah, we got to fix that. And, but yeah, just getting everything ready.
So this is 1,100 horses.
Yep, spec class. So like right here, there's like tags from Mercury that knows you know, can't take the intake off, and there's tags on the oil pan, everything down there. Stock turbos. If you look throughout, there's tags all over just to show that you can't get in the engine and change stuff.
Gotcha.
So
how hot does these engines get?
160, you know, somewhere around there.
So it's like double hard when it's a 95-degree day.
Yeah, but it's all computers, so thermostat and all that.
Sure.
You know, it's all electronic. And as long as you got good water, like what I was telling you earlier about here, like the lid's off here, but like this is a strainer for the intercooler, and that's for the water. That's what feeds all the water. And you just got to make sure them caps are on, because if they blow off, this thing will sink, you know, pumping all that water in.
All right, so show us, this is where all the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
As
I got to go
almost
over
trip
there
and
because
fall.
I can't fit in Myrick's seat.
For those that don't know who Myrick is, maybe
the
explain
midget.
why. Is that the technical way to describe it?
No, he's a little short, but this is the cockpit. This is all the Garmin's.
So how many
rear view
screens are up in
cameras.
here? Wow.
So we got an engine compartment one, so they could switch to see the engines while they're running to make sure their belts are on and all that.
That's just a camera inside of the.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are all the cameras around the boat.
Yeah, and they look out the side. Engine bay here. And then they look out the side. Well, that's a rear. Yeah.
What's this middle one do?
That's Mercury. So this is your tachometers, RPMs, and it shows oil pressure and all that stuff. This is how many times we tested the boat out here. Can't really tell, but that shows the lake, voltage, all that. This is our Motec, but that's not set up yet because it's a brand new boat. We don't have that fixed yet, but Performance did all the cockpit. It's all boxed in and sealed, you know, to where everything's sealed in here. Not like the other boat, it just had like, you could take the dashes out, and here you can't.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's all.
And you said, and so, you know, Tyler is how tall? 6 what?
He's 6 foot, 6'1".
And Myrick's, you know,
3 foot.
Myrick's probably what, 5'5",
Yeah,
6", something
yeah.
like that. So they had to specifically make each seat here designed for each guy.
The air's back here for them guys in case the boat goes over. There's an escape hatch here. If it's flipped upside down, they could open that and get out.
Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Has it ever happened with this boat? Well, this boat's new,
No,
so
not this boat or that one. Our last one before that, St. Clair, Michigan. It flipped, but that boat went overseas.
now there's a couple more hatches up here.
Yeah, so them are the front sponsons. Like, we have weight boxes, 4 different weight boxes in there. And
So somebody climbs inside these to get those, and they're bringing, you said,
about 50-pound bags.
which is those like right there.
Yep. So depending on how rough the water is or the seas are, we CG'd the boat to know where the boat will balance better. Like, you see some boats up in the air and slamming on the nose, or we kind of put bags in different positions, you know, 200-300 pounds, just to get the boat to balance better, flying out of the water.
Now, how many bags are going to be in there for shootout?
None.
It's going to be as light as possible
bags,
to run as fast as possible.
No fuel, probably 20 gallons a side, if
Really?
that. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting, and that's what most boats do. It's very light on fuel. Just because the heavier it is, the slower you'll go. Now, what is the minimum amount of gas that you have to have in it to get from dock, dog days,
10
race?
gallons a side.
Are you then refilling in between races?
Depends on how long they run it. I mean, we might bring some jugs down there because we run 93 octane. That's what, you know, we have to run with this boat in the spec class. So it's just pump gas.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yep.
That's fascinating.
And usually when we test here at the lake, we go to Eagle Stop right here and just fill the boat up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the boat that we used last year and the beginning of this year, the first half of this year, you were saying about being affordable. Them engines we had in that boat for 2 years, not rebuilt or nothing. We ran them for over 2 years, and the engines are 140,000 a piece. You could run them for 2 years and no issues. But we change oil every race and everything. But like Super Cat, there were 3 or 4 races, and then we're 90,000 a piece. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I was saying about affordable.
So what Craig is saying is you just got to have 140 grand times
280.
2.
Yeah.
But what about the boat that you're putting it in?
Well, yeah.
Technicalities. All right,
So-
Craig, let's finish this up by showing us inside this trailer. So this trailer is more for going on the road for offshore.
Yep. It has all our parts, hospitality, scooters, spare engines. We have 2 spare engines, 2 spare drives, 2 transmissions. We could easily build another boat out of all our parts here.
Really?
You know, we have spare Garmins. Anything you need. Nuts, bolts. We probably got 30 sets of props upstairs.
What you're saying is this trailer might be worth more than the boat itself.
Oh yeah, for sure, by far. It's a little messy.
So up top, it's just a mess of stuff. Really nothing to see up there.
Yeah, just props.
Yep.
And it's messy right now because we just got back from a race, but
Some couches in here.
yeah,
just
they
kinda
hang out up there, bathroom. We have tools, all our charging stuff, radios, fiberglass repair, hoses, oil.
What's the headroom in here?
6'5". And then Lindsay does this for us. That's why we're so nice and fit.
That's why you're all healthy.
This is our little snack section.
Oh, this is awesome.
But yeah, we got a little bit of everything there.
This is fascinating. So this is what fuels
Fuels us.
offshore
Yep.
racing.
This and Monster Energy.
Where's the healthy stuff at? It's easy cheese. Is that the?
I'll show you the healthy stuff. Here's the healthy stuff right here.
Ah, yes.
This is for after.
The important things. the
Some
necessities.
breakfast, some Pop-Tarts.
Olives for the Bloody Marys.
Yeah, that's
oh yeah,
Tyler
there's the
loves
Bloody
them.
Mary. Look at that. All right. So what you're saying is you guys have some fun.
Yeah, we do. We
Evidently,
try to.
Captain Morgan's a popular choice here.
Tito's. There's not much in there.
I feel because it gets
and
drank.
Patron for my wife and Lindsay.
Awesome. We got the
Monster.
all important, the only energy drink that matters.
Yep.
Monster, and then of course
But yeah, it's just
more adult refreshments.
parts. Yeah, well, yeah, that's just overstock. But we have everything's full of parts here.
So you actually do work.
Injector.
You don't
yeah.
just eat and drink.
No.
So is this the tool bag? You said you bring a tool bag to the dock.
Yeah.
I was picturing something much more
No,
robust.
this is it. And we could pull engines, drives, anything with just this. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got these big fancy $1 million boats, 1,100 horsepower motors, and that's all you need.
That's all you need, man.
Greg, dude, thanks
Yeah.
for having me, man.
No
This was a
problem.
lot of fun. We are excited for Shootout, as we are every year. I say this, and I don't know if you would agree with me, but it is the greatest event of the year at the Lake of the Ozarks.
I agree. It is. It brings a lot of people here, and there's something to do for 2 weeks,
Yeah,
So-
yeah. It's kind of like everybody says the Lake of the Ozarks blew up because of COVID and the show Ozark. And I would say shortly right after that is the Shootout.
Yeah,
And I think the
for
Shootout's
sure.
just going to continue to grow this area. If you've never experienced the Lake of the Ozarks Shootout, you absolutely need to come. Even if you can't be on a boat, the new setup now with Dog Days, the way it's going to be set up there, the interaction you can have with the drivers, the big screens they'll have, and then once the Oasis gets done, I mean, it's just going to keep getting better and better and better.
Sure. Non-stop, it's growing by day. So.
All right, man, so 180 is the number. I'm going to make sure I come and harass the guys over it. Actually, I won't, but I'll let you do that.
I will.
And I appreciate you having me out today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments because this guy is, he's about ready to become a internet sensation.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thanks, bud.
All right.